businesses run on lean marketing teams, tight budgets. But don't count them out. They're the overwhelming majority of businesses on Earth. Hey, Glenn here. Welcome to Funnel Reboot, the show for data-based marketers. There's a race to integrate AI into their processes. Small companies have one function that's poised to figure out AI through experimentation, analysis, and strategic changes in direction. And that's marketing. And it may very well determine the winner of the AI race. After graduating from Laurentian University, our guest worked in corporate and consulting positions across Canada and even in Korea. And then he founded a business which he grew to exit, and that led to mentoring students at Algonquin College and eventually teaching in their Business Management and Entrepreneurship program. Hungry to understand what AI could do for businesses, he went back to school in 2016 to Carleton University's master program. In 2025, he heard about the AI Collective and he founded the local Ottawa chapter. He's now CEO of ScarlettNova, an AI consultancy dedicated to helping get AI into companies. And he's founder of Rogue Ventures, an AI venture studio. Let's go now to a coffee shop where I spoke with Chris Dore. Chris Dore, welcome to Funnel Reboot.
Well, thank you for having me. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Great location.
I know. We're in a coffee shop,
yeah.
And we're here talking AI. Yeah. We're talking about its impact on marketing. Maybe you can give me a quick kind of a state of where you see AI and marketing, maybe for folks who haven't been paying a whole lot of attention lately.
Yeah. To me, it is very much similar with any marketer. I had a conversation with a friend who is a marketer about a year ago, and we had that conversation about, okay, is it going to replace you, right? And the reality is, we came to the conclusion that for people with expertise, it's steroids, right? It allows you to do more. So from a marketer perspective and for that profession, I see it as an added benefit. I don't see it as something that's going to completely replace it, because marketers are the most creative people that I have met. Right? Like marketers just think differently. And so I think that if anything, this is a tool that's going to be able to, help you imagine things, try things that you've never done before. It's going to redefine, in many ways, I think it's going to redefine marketing.
Yeah. So let's maybe start into what the individual components are that people are and should be using. So I don't want to take for granted that everybody listening is on a paid plan, but let's you and I assume that they plunk down their money and they get on a paid plan.
Yeah, they should.
So when they do, right, what sort of things open up for them?
Well, it depends, right? There's depending upon which large language model, right? Because when I think about it, like you have ChatGPT, you have Gemini, you have Claude, which is basically, one of my favorite models is Claude. I think what happens now is that when you think about these large language models, it's like this big brain and it has all the knowledge. All these large language models are pretty much the same in regards to knowledge base now. Yes. And what we're seeing now is a competition amongst its features that are competing now, right? So for me, when you say, if you're using a free one, I always give the advice, don't use the free one anymore. Use, if you can, the Pro or Enterprise version, because the functionality within it opens it up a little bit more. And plus, they say your data is secure within the enterprise, so they're not training the model with it, right?
Yes.
So for me, I think that, when you think about it, you have agents and vibe coding tools that are built within these type of products that I think everyone should be learning and experimenting with at this point in time, because it really, in my mind, it's like having, like Star Trek, right? Like we don't exactly have where it's like you press the button and a coffee gets generated, or but it's kind of like that. And so that's super exciting to me, because like if you have an idea or a thought, you can really kind of progress it further down the road than you normally would ever. Like, not to say it's going to take it all the way there, but it can really kind of like provide the visual, provide some understanding context, which I think could really, really kind of help creatives and marketers.
So let's address one of those things. I think it's an elephant in the room, is that marketers are, even if they don't consider themselves, they're surrounded by technology, whether it's the web content management systems that they work on, the CRMs, the MarTech stack of tools that they have. They have a lot of things where it required, past tense, a developer to build those things and even make some small modifications to them. Now, the SaaS platforms, they try to expose it so you have just a drop-down box or a toggle, and they try. But let's be honest here. It's all code, right, Chris? And so I think one of the things you were getting at when you say you get into a pro version and you start asking it for something, it all of a sudden starts, to me, instead of just answering me, it'll sometimes just pop open a code box and say, here's a little bit of JavaScript, or here's a little bit of PHP. This is what you can do. Drop this in somewhere. And if people ever do that, they start to realize, wait a minute, I'm not just a passive subscriber to these platforms and tools. I can be an active builder on these tools, because now this thing is given me, in the same language they speak, all the stuff I need, right, to make a coding sandwich.
Well, it's beautiful, that text box that everyone uses now, right? Like you can either talk to it or you can type in, right? And I think that what it's happening now with most of these models is basically it asks you questions, right? So it's an active coworker in anything that you actually create. And the more you know, the more you actually provide it, it gets better and better, right? So I spend a lot of time helping people just with some of the basics, like the personalization within the large language model. Like you get ChatGPT, and I always relate it because it's like we gave everybody Excel for the first time, and like it's like, here you go. And then some people are only going to ever be able to sum.
That's a good way to put it.
But the functionality behind Excel, like most people probably only had 10-20%.
Right.
Same thing what we're seeing with these models, these AI tools, that basically people are touching upon it and they're using 10%, even less than 10%, right? Like, because there's so many things that you can potentially do that can make your life easier or work life easier with these tools. So when we're in companies, we're just seeing like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, right? In some cases. And then in many cases, the first use case is always in the marketing department. Because and there's a couple of reasons. I think we were talking about this earlier about why that is, and I personally think it's because it's the creatives that are in the marketing department in a sense, like the people that are like willing to try new things. And I often think that when it comes to the lowest hanging fruit for any marketer was that it generates content, like it can generate decent like blogs and it can give you ideas about what you should post and such, right? So it's a very easy tool for people to actually start using within a marketing function. Now, the automation side and using agents is where I think that there's probably most ability for growth within marketing. And I'm not a marketing expert by any means, but I consider myself more an expert just on general business and on AI. So for me, like when I think about people in marketing departments, you should be looking at automation. You should be looking at use of agents.
Okay, so take us into agents. How do they soup it up even more?
Well, when I always think about like automation, like there's two things, because people always confuse automation and agents, right? So as I mentioned,
clarify for us.
Automation is basically moving something, let's say data from A to B. And that's great. Doesn't break down usually. It's pretty solid. Not a lot of concerns there. With agents, and I always said, and I was joking earlier that I said every year so far for the last 3 years, I said it was the year of the agent. They're getting much, much better. Companies are deploying them on large scale now. My use of agents has also increased considerably. I think everybody will start to be using agents a lot more. And the premise of the agent is that basically it makes a decision, but it can also take data from different sources. So instead of just going from A to B, and this is cool because it doesn't break. It's very simple. It's when like you have, maybe I'm taking a data from CRM, moving it over to here, making a decision, then pushing it over here, creating something. So it's more of a
like a mail merge.
But a little bit more complex and more.
And what was the difference? Was that in the automation, you knew what you wanted. In the agent case, you're giving it a goal?
Outcome,
You want the outcome.
So there's
and
definitely...
And it's figuring out how to get there.
Pretty much. And you just define it by, you give it boundaries and basically a really, really good prompt that allows it to deliver what you need it to do, right? And it could be anything from outbound marketing to market research to, one use case that I use personally is that anytime I have a meeting, it does research and sends me a brief on the person that I'm meeting.
Right.
It does it, and it's not just a brief. It actually has some analysis in regards to for my business. What are potential use cases this person might need in their business, right? So it's actually a deeper level of just saying this is John who works at construction company, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely a deeper analysis.
And this takes us into another area, and I don't want to miss it, is context. So to do that, for people who have only been on a free plan, they're kind of used to it being amnesic. Oh, hey, I just told you yesterday I'm going to meet with Bob. Like, how come you don't remember that? In the pro plans, you do get that. But the other thing you can do to even be more definitive about it is you can hand it a folder on your drive with some of those files or instructions that you have. And so it's going to follow within that container, what you're telling it, and that's a real plus for memory. It kind of turns it from being maybe the temp person that shows up at your office one day to being the full-time hire who has built up some institutional knowledge.
Well, it's funny because there's what I always talk big brain and small brain. Right? So when I think about large language models that have all the internet knowledge, right, those are the big brains, and those are really good to draw upon. But when I think about it in terms of the context of your company and individuals, I always talk about the small brain concept, which basically is there's RAG, which basically it creates a small brain, but they're already being embedded within. If you have SharePoint or you have Google Workspace, Workforce, or whatever the Google product, they're already kind of doing that because they're helping making you able to create that small brain super easy, right? Because within their ecosystems. So all you do is you have this layer of AI layer, like the large language model, that then can kind of go into those files and pull.
It's read them, and it's not going to go off to space and make up stuff. It's going to follow the stuff that you've given it.
Exactly. And then I think that's where it gets really, really powerful, because most people always think about, efficiencies. But when I think about AI, I think better decisions, right? And not just better decisions, but with better decisions usually increases revenue, right?
Or maybe to your point about efficiency, if you're going 100 kilometers an hour, but you're going in the wrong direction, that's not, that may be efficient, it's not useful. So if we 100%. Give it good context, it's useful.
Always context is data, right? It always comes back to the data. Most people overlook the power of data, but it's like the cliche is, data is the new oil. But I actually, there's a lot to that, right?
The point about that big brain that you said, I mean, we all know the origin story of that. It was built on the data of all of us, the internet.
That's right.
Right? Every social platform, every community forum, it was, all the blog posts, for good or bad. But that was enough to train that big one. So when we get down to RAGs and small little context files, the point is true. Just work in your business as much as possible to document. Get people to write down what their roles are. Get people to write down how they do things. And that is going to do in your little world what the internet as writ large did for large language models.
100%. Sometimes when we were in companies that are trying to help them with AI, we have to take a step back and say, okay, well, let's map out your workflows. If you have checklists of you do this at this time, and it's digital, that's beautiful for us, because checklists and workflows where it's mapped out, those are things that agents and AI can really handle really, really, really well, right? So because it's already mapped out, it's just do this within this box. Beautiful stuff. And I think that if you're in an organization now, that's what you should be doing. You should be really thinking about what that workflow looks like. And it's not just for marketing, right? It's across the board in an organization. You can accounting, finance, operations. It's pretty much a very similar process in regards to leveraging and using AI.
Well, so I'll take it one step further, which is I think people have those process charts that we've built up, and I know that they're sometimes aspirational. Marketing's going to hand off a lead to sales, and sales is going to hand it off to customer service, and everybody's going to be great. the customer's going to love us. But marketers usually live in the reality where they see that sometimes those touch points with the customer are suboptimal. I think one of the things that marketers, I want to be wrong about this, but I think marketers are going to have to take a leadership role in also evangelizing other parts of a company to stay at the same level of use with AI, because it's when the AI is kind of seeing all that documented data, and the AI is able to go, oh, wait a minute, you're about to send a mail merge to people who have been your longest and most loyal customers, and you're sending them a "don't leave us" email, like right? To make the left hand and the right hand work together. All of us have to be on board with this.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I have a good friend, Julie, who is a generalist. I don't know if you. Laverne.
We'll put Julie Laverne in the show notes.
Yeah. So she's amazing when it comes to that concept, right? And one of her big things is that she really believes that the generalist is really more and more important now than ever because of the fact that the connection piece, right? Like, but the other piece of it too is like, sure, you gotta have people that have those abilities, but AI, you can use AI to also make those connections, right? Which is what I think is going to kind of overlook, because like, let's say you and I read a report, right? Okay. Like I read a report, you read a report, we have a discussion, we leave the coffee shop, we might remember 3 things that we discussed.
Oh, if I'm lucky.
Well, the real power within AI is that, and especially with that, like that small company brain, is that you can have 10,000, 1 million reports.
Yes.
And the connections
just not humanly possible.
That's right. And the connections between those, like that's where you can get some really crazy insights and make decisions based upon having a bigger view of what's happening in your company, right? Because if you're a CEO of a company, you're just reading reports, right? And you're making decisions just based upon the reports that you see, right? So anyways, I think there's that
a generalist ability. And I guess what comes with that generalist is some an open mind, right? Where you can start to think to yourself, I could actually write a prompt that says, take years of my financials, take every customer I've ever worked with, take all the marketing campaigns that I'm currently doing, and I want some critical analysis, like this. You would never as a human being attempt to do that because nobody's got that kind of time.
No.
But it can.
It's possible now.
Right?
And most companies aren't doing that, right? Like that's the thing, right? Like they have this data, they have formats, and we're at pretty much like the beginning of this all, right? Because I think recently the AI strategy, Canadian AI strategy came out.
It just came out.
They basically, I believe it was don't quote me, I think it was 8%. Like they said that 8% of companies are actually applying AI in a beneficial manner, right?
So adoption is something we got to work on.
Yeah, like and that's scary because like for me, you got to like it's one of those things that you don't want to wait on because there's first off, the learning function, right? Like basically, when you have to get, and the sooner you start adopting it, the better it's going to get, right? Like the more usage, the more value you're going to pull from it, right? And
could I rephrase that? I'll recast it as the first prompts you make with it, those first responses are going to be the worst responses it ever has because it is just shooting back. They call that a zero shot or a one shot, where it's just like, okay.
Build a marketing plan.
I got to give you some answer, so here's an answer, but it's not a good answer. But you're right. The more you do with it, and I mean, this kind of let's open our minds. But I think the other thing that we have to reckon with is the economics of this. We've got each of these models has a scale of low to high thinking. Let's call it. And we have to grapple with the fact that we're not done if we just say we're spending a small amount of money per month, because especially depending on when people are listening to this, that may not be the pricing that is au jour. So how do you look at the way that you can chew through tokens that these wonderful tools use, and how do we make sure that we are being good stewards of our company's budget for Like I love what you said. Give me a whole marketing plan. The other side of that is you're relinquishing your job as a marketer to give it that, and you're probably being foolhardy with the company's money because it will chew through a lot of money to do that if you don't give it some boundaries.
So, I think it depends on usage, right? And it depends on use cases. Because most companies are probably not even, unless it's a coding company or
True.
They're not running through the usage as much, right? Like it's usually the coding functionality that makes that is the token maxing, right?
Yeah.
So an average company may never actually ever be like, oh, I've hit my maximum. I think it's the enterprise is going to have issues in terms of cost. I think the medium-sized companies could.
Let's say that they make a
switch.
Yeah.
So the other thing is I've seen is especially among my coding friends is that if they max out on one, they just switch to another. And they'll have three or four different coding tools or
right. So you set things up in the background so you can Lego block.
Yeah. So there's ways, but I also think that generally my view is, and we talk supply and demand. I think yes. It seems like everyone's using AI, but they're not. That's the thing, right? Like statistically, globally, most it's developed countries like the United States, Canada, Europe that are using the majority. So there's going to be issues in the future when more and more people use it. But also the other piece of it too is that the technology is advancing like crazy, and especially not on the AI side, but also on the energy side, right?
Correct.
So I'm optimistic.
New data centers coming online.
I also think that new technologies. I think the cost per compute will continue to come down.
Right.
So I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
Versus I have a 19-year-old who's like, don't use AI, you're destroying the environment. And I'm like, okay, good.
Or
a valid point.
There's some of that, but maybe we're going to ship those data centers up to low Earth orbit, and then
or put them in the sea. Who knows?
Or whatever, right?
Or put them in the north.
Yeah.
And then we also have another thing that's going to probably in 4 or 5 years. I think quantum computing is going to, be steroids to
it
AI.
uses something like 1/1000th the amount of energy to do the same job. So.
I think IBM says 2028 is where it's like. So I don't maybe that's ambitious, but I'd say I think AI is steroids to the average person. I think quantum is steroids, really, really strong steroids to AI. And so it's going to be a crazy, in the next decade, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be exciting. That's all we know.
That's it. Nothing else is certain, but excitement is guaranteed.
That's right.
So maybe let's kind of rapid fire into a few areas of marketing, and maybe you could just tell me if you think that they are going to, be great areas for us to think of use cases, or if they're ones that you think a few years from now they'll look a lot like they do today. So, let's take anything to do with your company's website and design and graphics.
So that's interesting because I feel any graphic designer has to get really good at using these tools,
right?
Or I worry about graphic designers because I don't use graphic designers anymore. I do my own thing because the interface is so super easy, right?
Many of us do.
I actually think that in the future, and if we can talk about the future, I think we're going to build websites that basically adapt towards the person viewing. So AI enables mass personalization on scale. So for example, let's say call it a cookie, right? So let's say I go to your website. It knows already some information about me. It will instantly fine-tune the website to me.
Right.
So every time anybody goes to your website, they're going to get an individual personalized website.
Yeah. Or the extreme version I think of is if I built an ROI calculator or a configurator on my website or something, that will start to just meld into the whole website where you or your agent will ask the website, hey, what could you do for me? And the website, as you say, will just kind of reform itself to be, okay, here's Chris's website.
Yeah. There's also a future where there's no websites.
Maybe.
Right? Because if you have a console, right?
Right.
And you'll basically just query in the console.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be like that's a tough one because if you think about it, just websites when websites first came out, like a corporate website was $80,000 to $90,000, right?
Oh, yeah.
And now, if anyone paid that, you'd be like, you just got took severely. Now it's like it's one of the easiest things,
yes.
right? Like
yes.
So e-commerce sites, easy to you can vibe code these things, and it's because you don't really need. There's not a lot of scaling there, right? So the issue with vibe coding is that it's the scalability of things.
Right, it can run a few times. It's not going to take a million hits.
That's right. A website is like one of the easiest things. Like, so if you have an idea and you want to get a website, I'd say it used to take like a weekend. Now it takes 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's becoming easier and easier. And those things are just going to get better and better, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's great for entrepreneurs, but I also think that once again, that the upskilling and the skills, we're going to have to adapt.
Yeah.
There's a lot of changes. Because I'm also a college professor, right? And so within that, I see we got knowledge at our fingertips. The issue is that we need skills.
Yes.
Because we have knowledge now. We just need to keep focusing on skills because I think skills are going to be super, super important. Sales skills, presentation skills, emotional intelligence, like critical thinking. All these ones that are kind of innately human are going to become like jacked up and more important. And I think that's actually a good thing for humanity, if you ask me. But
yeah, for sure. What about event marketing?
Event marketing? Oh, these are good questions. Like what about event marketing though?
I guess there's two pieces, and you perfectly raised the human one. So maybe what we'll do is spend less time on the logistics and planning, and more time at the event, making sure that every prospect is given exactly the experience that they need.
Yeah, like with Claude, you can basically have an event organized and put out there,
right?
Like completely automated. Like I can tell you because I brought the AI Collective to Ottawa, and I can tell you that people love meeting people. Like it's still like the energy. It's the AI Collective is full of people that are passionate about technology, passionate about AI.
Yeah.
But there's always a buzz. Every time we have an event, there's a buzz in the room when people are connecting to people that you just don't get from being on your computer, right? Or your laptop.
So bottom line, events will still matter.
I think
AI is kind of a plumbing part of it, not the.
That's right.
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 We're not going to send our bots to go meet people.
Well, if you think about it though, like we already kind of do stuff like that with like the online dating and all the social networks, right?
True.
Like I think when I think about those things, I just think it's like there's going to be. I love that there's an avenue for everybody in a sense, right? Like some people, introverts, might actually prefer, that the digital interactions.
Yeah.
And I think our kids are like the younger generation. Like I can speak for my kids that they probably have almost as many digital friends from online interactions.
Right. You don't know IRL
to real life.
Yeah.
Like so. And is that bad or good? I'd argue it's relationships, and relationships, if they're healthy, are good relationships.
Right.
Even if it's a guy and a friend that's in the United States, right?
Yeah.
That lives.
Yeah.
And that's some of my daughter's best friends are there. Like
sure.
She's never met in person, right?
Well, I think it cultivates even more skills out of you to be able to maintain it like that. Let's hit one last one. Paid media and advertising. Do you think that?
This is like. I wish I was like. I always had issues with it beforehand, before AI, because and this might get me. Like people would be like commenting saying this guy. It was always an issue for me about SEO, and I think that now there's even a bigger issue because SEO was always like had to get in the front page, right? And then all these marketers are like, we'll get you pay us this much, we'll get you in the front, right? I'm like, and the front page was like the thing that everybody wanted, right?
Yeah.
That front page is gone.
Top of the 10 blue links.
Yeah. Now it's gone.
Yep.
But so it's like that whole like. And it's interesting because OpenAI is they're already looking at monetizing it and putting in some type of advertisement function.
Right? I've already seen one.
Like so you've been privy to see it. I haven't seen it. So, but I'd say like these large companies are going to actually because especially if they go public, like they got to maximize shareholder value,
right?
And that is by finding revenue streams and additional revenue streams. So it's going to be, I think, very, very interesting. Like, and I worry because, let's say I'm on a bakery or a coffee shop, and how am I going to outbeat Starbucks?
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to how am I going to outsmart or outbuy? And I'm not going to outbuy them, right?
Right.
So I have to figure out. And I think that I don't know the answer to that right now because, like, do you know the answer to that? Because
I just know that it's an auction-based setting in all of these platforms, all the way up to Google, who showed us this method.
Yeah.
And that you're right. When big companies and small companies enter an auction, the bigger companies have the ability to win. So I would say find niches where you can show your human, you can show your individual, love to maybe your local geography or that individual niche that you have where it's a certain function out there, but you know those people. You're at the long tail. You're right down at the very end, and you have the most relevant things to say to those humans. That's how I think you win.
So are you saying, like, that cliche, or I like it, riches in the niches?
Yeah.
Is that going to become more powerful?
But I think within reason, when you have a niche like that and your message has been proven, you have like an offer that has a reliable conversion rate, then you can sprinkle in a little bit of advertising on it. But I think the days of, like you said, with SEO or with things like running search ads, where you were just trying to brute force your way to the top, that's gone.
Well, it's also interesting because, like, nowadays, like, do you find, like, I don't ever look at the links anymore. Like, I go straight, like, Google beat everyone to the game, and I think that's smart for Google because they're in a sense thinking ahead and saying, okay, this is going to put us potentially out of business on the advertising side.
Yep.
So we need to get in front
We got to hurry up and make it work on the AI side.
And so and to their credit, they seem pretty smart about it because I look at the AI answer. I don't look at the links anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I go straight to that AI answer. So so it's going to be.
And this is, I guess you mentioned the word adoption earlier, and I love the phrase that I heard once. Innovation happens at the pace of technology, but adoption happens at the pace of trust.
Yeah.
And I think what has been kind of behind our whole conversation today is the notion of I need to know that what I am building, like that my time is going to be worth it at this.
Yeah.
And there are times when a marketer is going to hit a limit and go, I need to reach out to somebody else who knows this. And I'll just have to trust that they have built other things that get results, and that this is going to be time well spent. There is going to be an ROI in this.
Yeah.
So you have, in addition to AI Collective and college teaching, you have a company called ScarlettNova that does this. So, like, who is Chris, this guy who started this this AI thing, and what are you trying to do with that?
For me, it was all about. So I did my master's at Carleton Technology and Innovation Management.
Yeah.
And kudos to that program because it really kind of opened my eyes to AI in 2017.
Holy cow!
Like, and to me, I saw it and I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And also as a professor in an entrepreneurship program, I was really kind of concerned about technology and about this technology in particular because I think to start a startup today was like awesome because you can actually apply that technology within a startup and that can give you a competitive advantage over existing businesses. I think you have the big enterprise companies that are going to always do well because they got tons of money, like, they can hire the expertise, so they're going to be okay, and they also have tons of data. My biggest concern, the reason why I started the company was because I saw these small, medium enterprises, which is like 95% of companies in most countries that empower the
huge part of the economy.
Yes. And so to me, that was the piece where I was like, they're going to have challenges because they don't have the resources, they don't have the expertise, and they can't rebuild from scratch.
Right.
And so for my mind, it was like, I want to help them. Like, that was kind of like the goal, like to truly help with this adoption.
So what does ScarlettNova do?
So we're an AI company that helps you along the full spectrum. So we do everything from AI training and literacy training to AI assessment to AI roadmap to implementation. Often we find lately is that when I first started the company, we ended up thinking, we're going to focus a lot on strategy and AI strategy and business strategy. people are not there yet. Like where I see a tipping point, I think it's coming. People are fully aware of that they need to look into this. They need to start. I think really my big thing is that if your competitor's doing it, you're at a disadvantage, and I hate that fear mongering. But if your competitor's doing it and you're not doing it, you're going to be in trouble. Like because they're going to be able to make better decisions and be more cost effective than you.
Yes,
and that can go into pricing at some point, right?
Of course it does.
The other piece is like we also have a ton of people that are looking to sell businesses. The boomers are out there. AI enables you to really package it really well.
True.
And likely increase
it's not just in the owner's head.
That's right. And then you can get a better multiple in your business, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of things that people like need to start thinking about AI about. So back to what we do the full spectrum. Or I'm probably one of the only, I'd say, pure AI companies that I think that are out there right now.
Yeah.
You have management consultants that have tied it on, accounting companies that have tied it on. Everything we do is AI focused and really kind of like our main thing. But the irony is that even though we're pretty good at, I'd say very strong on the technical side of things, we also realize that it's such a human problem. Like it's really like we've recently helped. There's a company that brought in enterprise AI for everybody, ChatGPT Enterprise.
Yes.
And then they found that adoption wasn't there.
Whoa.
And so it's you got 4,000 people that have licenses that are so costly. So now you've got the tool. Now you need them. Now you have to kind of teach them how to use the shovel, right? Like,
yes.
Like it's the same concept of, as I mentioned, I always use Excel because most people can understand Excel, right?
But right go to the trouble of back in the day, you would have floppy disks and put Excel on everybody's PC. But what if they're not using it?
Another problem that I'm seeing is that people are grabbing these tools and they're just grabbing tools, right? And the reality is, if you think about it, like, well, if you have a nail, you need a hammer. So so the problem, you got to think about the problem and make sure the tool fits the problem.
True. Because otherwise, if that's a screw, the hammer's not good.
That's exactly. You don't take a sledgehammer to or saw when you don't need a chainsaw. And so we're seeing a lot of confusion, right? And I think companies really want to get some clarity, and that's what we really kind of help with. Like I get excited about it because it's like being able to help companies be better.
Yeah.
I love it.
And there's an interesting new twist I think that AI has brought that I know you're seeing, which is when you build something, you can find that, well, it might have served this individual implementation, but you know what? This is also probably a product that other people would buy. And you confided in me, and I don't know if you want to let it completely out, but you mentioned that you're looking at like venture studio work to kind of spin some of these ideas more into 100%. Maybe their own company.
100%. Like any type of, anytime you have an opportunity to get to know companies really, really well, you get to understand their problems. And so Rogue Ventures is our venture studio. We're basically where we are able to take some of those big problems that our companies are facing and implement them into products. So with an AI first approach, right? So when I mentioned those startups that can kind of really compete, like that's what we're doing within there. We're taking a look at traditional type of industries and saying, okay, well, with an AI first approach here, we can create something that's going to be, better than what's existing in the market.
That's amazing. Chris, if people want to reach out or find out more about what you're doing and
LinkedIn,
how to do it.
LinkedIn's the best avenue.
Okay, we'll put it in the show notes.
Also visit our website. Although hopefully by the time this airs, we will have a new website because we're making constant improvements. But generally, I'd say reach out. Happy to discuss any AI questions. I'm just fascinated as much as I'm constantly learning, just like everyone else is. And so I'm always happy to have a discussion, and if I can provide value, I'm happy to.
Yeah, and I'm going to leave on that because though there might be parts of this people have found intimidating, the good news is it's all happening at the same time to all of us, so we're all on that journey together.
100%.
Right?
I've always been, as a person, I believe lifelong learning, and it's more and more important now than ever before.
Yes.
Especially if you're in a position where maybe, you might be downsized and you need to, upskilling, all this. never stop learning and always keep yourself open to new things.
Yeah, no matter what comes. I think that is the antidote to any of that anxiety is as long as you're learning, you have a really good shot at finding your way in this future.
Yeah, I agree. And I also have an entrepreneur. I always say hey, it's enabling people to start businesses easier than ever before. Like these ideas, it's a new industry, a new market.
Right, that side hustle that you've been thinking about, or maybe own startup.
I think everyone should have one. I'm just I'm a firm believer in creating value in the world, and business is one way to do that.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, and relationships. Because I still think no matter what the technology, business is and humanity is about relationships and talking to people and just being. That's awesome.
It. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. Follow the show on Twitter @Funnel Reboot. If you like what you have heard today, please consider leaving a review wherever you get your podcasts.